it is Rich Paul's take that the Lakers are not real contenders. And he would know, right? After all, he is LeBron's agent. So, you also have to assume that it's not just Rich Paul's take that the Lakers aren't real contenders. It's Team LeBron's take.
Jim Rome doesn't usually waste his breath on NBA gossip unless there's something real to the story. And this time, he was right on the money. When Rich Paul, LeBron's own agent, went on his podcast and said the Lakers aren't true contenders, it wasn't just a random thought. It was a message. If you know how this business works, you know those comments don't just happen by accident.
Like, I personally don't think the Lakers are good enough to be contenders right now. Not right now.
Here's the real question we have to ask ourselves. When Rich Paul says the Lakers aren't contenders, is that just his honest opinion? Or is LeBron hiding behind his agent once again? Sound off in the comments below. Because at this point, it's bigger than basketball.
I mean, if Rich Paul knows that much about basketball tactics, knows more than Farmer JJ, then shouldn't he be the head coach of the Lakers? You know, Rich, why didn't LeBag pick you instead of Farmer JJ to be his wine-sipping X's and O's podcast partner?
Let's keep it real. Rich Paul doesn't speak unless LeBron gives the green light. That is how this partnership has always worked. Rich Paul didn't become one of the most powerful agents in sports because of his X's and O's or coaching genius. He got to where he is because he represents LeBron. That's the entire job. Protect the brand, push the narrative, and apply pressure whenever LeBron wants the heat turned up. So when Paul goes on his show and says the Lakers aren't true contenders, you don't need a translator for that. That's LeBron talking through a mouthpiece.
And if you think the Lake Show is a legitimate contender this season for an NBA championship, you would also be wrong. Sorry, Laker fan. Hate to be that wet blanket. Hate to be the cooler. Hate to be the one to dump a bunch of cold water all over you. Hate to suck the joy out of this season, but your Lakers are nothing but a bunch of fraud.
Jim Rome didn't hold back on that one. He called it exactly as he saw it. If LeBron's own agent is going public to trash the Lakers while the team is having one of its most stable stretches in years, you know something much deeper is going on. Rome didn't miss when he pointed out the obvious contradiction. The Lakers are winning games. The standings don't say fraud. And yet, LeBron's camp is already putting the pieces in place for an excuse. That isn't a coincidence. That is strategic.
Don't take that from me, because it's not even my take. I don't even believe that. However, it is Rich Paul's take that the Lakers are not real contenders. And he would know, right? After all, he is LeBron's agent. So, you also have to assume that it's not just Rich Paul's take that the Lakers aren't real contenders. It's Team LeBron's take. And if it's Team LeBron's take, safe to assume it is LeBag's take.
That is the part that exposes the whole thing as nonsense. Since when did Rich Paul become a master of playoff rotations, defensive schemes, and late-game adjustments? If he knows so much about why the Lakers can't contend, why isn't he sitting on the bench drawing up plays? Why isn't he out there coaching instead of J.J. Redick, the very guy LeBron wanted in the first place? You don't get to have it both ways.
If you don't feel that way, you might want to check your agent, because he's going on his pod and he's saying it in broad daylight. You might want to make it clear to everybody that your agent does not speak for you or through you. Because right now the obvious assumption is everybody's making just the opposite assumption, that your agent is doing your talking for you.
This isn't about basketball analysis. It's about control. For the first time since LeBron got to Los Angeles, the organization isn't bending the knee. Luka got the extension. Austin Reeves is in line for a huge payday. J.J. Redick is coaching like an actual head coach instead of a podcast buddy. And suddenly, Rich Paul is out there telling everyone the Lakers' style is easy to stop. That isn't a critique. That is a shot across the bow.
Like, I personally don't think the Lakers are good enough to be contenders right now. Not right now.
When you say contenders, what do you mean?
I don't think they have enough to get to the Western Conference Final. I don't think they have enough to get to really contend from that.
Jim Rome doesn't usually waste his breath on NBA gossip unless there's something real to the story. And this time, he was right on the money. When Rich Paul, LeBron's own agent, went on his podcast and said the Lakers aren't true contenders, it wasn't just a random thought. It was a message. If you know how this business works, you know those comments don't just happen by accident.
Like, scoreboard, don't look at it. Standings, don't look up at them. You're thinking about this all wrong. What you should be asking yourself is this: does the team revolve around LeBron? And since the answer is now no, they obviously are not good enough. They suck. They have no chance. I mean, easy lava Paul.
Because LeBron knows better than anyone how optics work. He knows that if he comes out and criticizes the Lakers directly, social media will eat him alive. He knows he can't openly say the roster isn't good enough while simultaneously chasing stats, milestones, and legacy points. So what does he do? He sends Rich Paul. Let the agent take the heat. Let Clutch Sports push the narrative. And if it blows back, LeBron can pretend he had nothing to do with it.
Team LeBag is at it again, and they're getting baggier by the moment. And it's only going to get worse now that Lava Paul has his own podcast to launder LeBag's bullcrap through. Like, some of us are smart enough to see through that garbage. In fact, I'd like to believe that most of us are. I'd like to believe that most people can see how transparently petty and ridiculous and unprofessional this all is. And that wasn't even all he said. As an example, he also said they would lose in the playoffs because their, quote, style of play will be very easy to defend, end of quote. Clearly a not-so-veiled shot at JJ Redick.
That's why Jim Rome labeled it unprofessional. You don't publicly undermine the team your client plays for unless there's an agenda. And that agenda is simple. If the Lakers fail, the excuse is already loaded. If they win, LeBron gets credit for overcoming a non-contender. Heads he wins, tails the organization loses.
But since Farmer JJ is on board with building around Luka, Farmer JJ is now the bad guy who won't win in the playoffs because his style was so easy to defend. Well, terrible head coach choice by your client then, Lava Paul. Like, I didn't know agents were so well versed in X's and O's like this. I mean, if Rich Paul knows that much about basketball tactics, knows more than Farmer JJ, then shouldn't he be the head coach of the Lakers?
Jim Rome didn't hold back on that one either, pointing out just how ridiculous it sounds to hear an agent act like the season is already over. Cancel the games, right? Just shut it down. If the agent says they aren't good enough, why bother even lacing up? That sarcasm cuts deep because it exposes how arrogant the whole thing is. As if one man's camp gets to decide when a franchise is legit and when it's not. And let's talk about the defense card, because that's the excuse everyone loves to use. Yes, the Lakers have defensive issues. Nobody is denying that. Having Luka, Reeves, and LeBron on the floor together isn't exactly building a lockdown unit. But the hypocrisy is glaring. LeBron hasn't played consistent defense in years, yet suddenly, the team's defensive flaws are the reason they can't contend? Come on. Jim Rome's larger point was about power. This is exactly what happens when a superstar loses leverage. A few years ago, this conversation wouldn't even exist. Rich Paul wouldn't have dared suggest the Lakers weren't contenders because LeBron ran the whole building. He got the trades he wanted. He got Westbrook. He got AD, picked the coach, and even got his son into the league. That power is slipping away. And this is what pushback looks like. Instead of dictating the moves, LeBron is positioning himself as a victim of circumstance. The organization didn't do enough. The style isn't right. The roster isn't built to win. Sound familiar? It's the exact same playbook we've seen at the end of every single era. Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland again, and now Los Angeles. Rome wasn't buying it, and neither should we. He made it clear that if Rich Paul's words were truly independent, LeBron would have spoken up to clarify it. But he won't, because they aren't independent. They are coordinated. That is how Clutch Sports operates: narrative first, accountability never. And the timing couldn't be more obvious. Contract talks have stalled, and extensions are being handed out to everyone except LeBron. JJ Redick is coaching with actual autonomy, and Luka is the undisputed face of the franchise. Then, suddenly, Rich Paul goes on a podcast and torches the team's championship hopes. That isn't a coincidence. That is leverage warfare. Rome also touched on how disrespectful this is to the fans. While the team is trying to build something sustainable, LeBron's camp is already hinting at abandonment, preparing the ground for "they failed me" headlines. That isn't leadership. That is self-preservation. And let's look at the irony. Paul is criticizing the Lakers' style of play when that style was heavily influenced by LeBron himself. Who wanted Redick? Who shaped the offensive philosophy? Who demanded certain personnel fits? You can't architect a house and then complain about the foundation. At the end of the day, Rome didn't just go off on the agent, he exposed the entire operation. The puppet strings, the narrative laundering, the strategic silence, and the growing reality that the Lakers are moving on, with or without him. This feels like the final chapter. One last season of passive-aggressive messaging, and one last round of excuses loaded in advance. Because when this ends, LeBron doesn't want the blame. He never does. So when Rich Paul says the Lakers aren't contenders, believe him. Not because it's true, but because it tells you exactly where LeBron's head is. Already gone. Already distancing himself. Already setting the stage. The only question left is whether the Lakers finally stand on business and let this era end, instead of bending over backward one more time.